It is like going out after a long, restless night and feeling the first soft morning light touch your face. A dawn that now reveals in its golden color everything that was once hidden by the shadows. During those dark hours, people tried to convince themselves that the thunder was just a passing sound and that the winds blowing were nothing to worry about. But when the new day dawns, all that has been hidden becomes clear and no one can deny what the sun shows. Write 11 in the comments. Now don't just be a spectator, be a part of the story. With your support, we will become a huge family of 5,000 people. Subscribe now, turn on notifications and join us. Because the truth has waited patiently all this time, and now it is quietly rising and shining in front of everyone. It's like the break of dawn after a stormy night, the kind where clouds finally part, and the first gentle rays of sun spill across the horizon, lighting up all that was hidden in shadow. For years, the world beneath those clouds walked in a dim, uneasy half-light, pretending not to notice the thunder that rattled their foundations or the restless wind that hinted at change. But as the sunlight spreads, there's no way to ignore what's been happening behind closed doors, no way to pretend that the truth hasn't always been waiting just beneath the surface. You know, there comes a season when God Himself throws open the curtains and lets the daylight pour into every room, revealing dust in corners and secrets long kept. That's where you are now, chosen one. Life is lifting the veil, not to shame, but to free, not to condemn, but to release you from the weight of confusion. For so long, people wore masks, smiling with their lips but hiding calculation in their eyes, and you felt the chill of that duplicity even when you couldn't put your finger on what was wrong. You might have thought you were the only one who noticed, but now, the whole room is waking up, stretching, and blinking in the clarity of truth. It's a bit like watching frost melt from a window pane. The patterns that once blurred your vision are dissolving drop by drop, until you see what's really outside, the landscape just as it is, not as you feared or hoped, but as it always was. There's relief in the honesty of it. You don't have to guess anymore, don't have to wonder who's with you and who's just playing a part. The Spirit brings things into the open, not with harsh accusation, but with a gentle breeze that blows away all pretense. Sometimes the hardest thing is realizing how much you excused, how many little betrayals you chalked up to misunderstanding, how many cold shoulders you tried to warm with your own faith. But the blessing in this unveiling is the freedom it brings. When the fog lifts, you can finally see who's standing beside you out of love, and who's there only for their own advantage. It's not a punishment, it's a promotion. A spiritual elevation that happens when you stop wrestling with ghosts and start walking in the clarity of the morning. There's a reason why God allows masks to slip and truth to surface in His timing. He wants to deliver you from the traps you couldn't see, the whispered lies that were never yours to carry. Sometimes He lets the world misjudge you, lets friends turn strange, lets opportunities seem to pass you by, all to set the stage for a greater unveiling. The table He prepares for you isn't set in secret, it's out in the open, where every mouth that once spoke against you now falls silent in wonder. And you, chosen one, are learning the rare gift of patience. You're learning that vindication doesn't always come with trumpet blasts and applause. Sometimes it comes with a deep, peaceful knowing that you were never crazy, never alone, never unseen. The more you rest in that truth, the less it matters who doubted you or who whispered behind your back. Because God's justice is not a rumor, it's a sunrise, slow but unstoppable, flooding every shadow with gold. Let me tell you something, some folks will never admit what they did. They'll never look you in the eye and say, "I was wrong." But their plans are crumbling all the same, not because you exposed them, but because the Lord is doing the revealing. You don't have to fight to be heard anymore. Your character speaks for you, your endurance stands as witness. The people who once celebrated your setbacks are suddenly finding themselves exposed, their alliances faltering, their confidence shaken as the truth stands tall. This is the season where God gives you a new footing, where you step out of confusion and into confidence, out of anxiety and into assurance. The webs that once ensnared you are breaking, not by your striving, but by divine hands working on your behalf. You might feel like you're waking up from a long, strange dream, a dream where nothing made sense and everyone wore a different face. Now, in the clear light of morning, you see the patterns, you understand the lessons, and you know without a doubt that you are favored, not forsaken. Maybe you remember a time when you thought being misunderstood was the worst thing that could happen. But today, you realize that being misunderstood was part of your protection. While others schemed in the shadows, God was preparing your elevation. While they twisted your words and doubted your motives, heaven was writing a different story, a story that ends with you standing firm while the schemes of others fall apart. If you love a good mystery, subscribe for the untold truths of Scripture. Let's be honest, there are wounds that come from betrayal that only God can heal. But in this unveiling, you find something better than old relationships restored. You find your own authority. You discover that you don't need everyone's approval, don't need the old alliances, don't need to explain yourself to those who were never willing to listen in the first place. The people who matter have seen your truth all along, and the rest are just extras fading from your stage as the spotlight shifts to where it always belonged, on what God is doing in you. Chosen one, you were never meant to blend in. The discomfort you felt was never a curse, but a clue. You were set apart so you could stand up, not just for yourself, but for everyone who's ever been misunderstood, maligned, or misrepresented. When people look back on this chapter, they'll say, "We should have known. The signs were there." They'll realize the miracle wasn't in your survival, but in your refusal to become bitter, in your decision to trust the process even when you couldn't see the outcome. The days of hiding are over. The days of questioning your own discernment, of doubting your spirit, of shrinking to fit someone else's comfort zone, they're done. Now you rise. Now, you let your life be a testimony, not of how well you fit in, but of how faithfully you waited for the light. There's a boldness in you that wasn't there before, a courage that comes from seeing the truth and knowing you have nothing left to fear. So walk tall into this new morning. Let those who tried to hold you back watch as you step into purpose, let those who sowed confusion reap their own harvest, and let the world see what God can do with someone who never stopped believing even in the darkness. You are living proof that the truth always rises, that the storm always clears, and that no mask, no plot, no web of deceit can stand against the one whom God has chosen and set apart. There is blessing in this exposure. There is peace in this revelation. There is joy in knowing that every trial, every misunderstanding, every shadow was leading you right here, to the place where you finally see clearly, love fully, and live fearlessly. The story isn't ending, it's just beginning. And this time, you get to live it in the full light of truth, with nothing hidden, nothing stolen, and nothing left for the enemy to use against you. Let the curtain fall on the old act. Let the new chapter begin, written by the hand of God Himself, where you walk in the freedom that only comes when all things are brought to light, and you finally understand that you were never alone in the night, never forgotten, and never without hope. The morning is here, chosen one. Step into it. It's a lot like standing outside just before sunrise, when the whole world is caught between night and morning. For hours, even days, everything was covered by a thick, unyielding fog. You could barely see the tip of your own hand, let alone the road ahead. For the longest time, you wondered if the sun would ever come back. But suddenly, as if the universe decided it was finally time, the fog begins to melt away. Light pours in from places you didn't expect, filling every crack and corner, reaching into rooms you thought would stay dim forever. It's not loud, but it is undeniable. Shadows run from it, confusion loses its grip, and what was hidden stands revealed in the gentle, unstoppable glow of morning. Chosen one, there are moments when the truth does more than knock on the door. It flings it wide open and walks into the center of your life, shining like a lighthouse for every lost ship. You've been through seasons where falsehood seemed to win the day, where rumors raced ahead of reality and every conversation seemed like a maze of misunderstandings. It felt like you were calling out in the wilderness, hoping just one honest voice would answer back. The lies piled up so high that you began to wonder if anyone would ever see the real story. But God is faithful. Just like He promised, He doesn't let confusion have the final word. There comes a sunrise hour in every journey, a moment when the layers of deception, the veils of gossip and suspicion, simply cannot withstand the heat of what's real. All at once, the scales start falling off the eyes of those who were once blind to your worth. People who used to side with the crowd begin rubbing their eyes, seeing you for the first time as you truly are, not as rumor painted you. They can't help but notice the peace you carry, the integrity that never bent, the light that kept shining long after everyone else stopped looking. It's like watching a garden in late spring, when the first strong rays of sunlight burn away the dew and show what was really growing all along. For years, weeds and wild grass might have hidden the good seed, might have tangled up your reputation and made it look like nothing worthwhile was taking root. But the moment comes when the true shoots, strong, green, and undeniable, break through the surface, pushing aside everything that doesn't belong. No one can pretend not to see what's happening. The fruit is right there, plain as day, and even your doubters have to admit that God was working beneath the soil when nobody else could see. The truth doesn't shout to be heard, it simply stands tall. You are witnessing the kind of clarity that's so sharp, so gentle, so real that even the most stubborn deniers can't ignore it any longer. The people who once spread lies have fallen silent, realizing that the wind has changed. Their words blow away like chaff, leaving only the grain of what is good, lasting, and real. You don't have to defend yourself anymore. You don't have to prove your worth or explain your journey to anyone. The results are speaking, the light is speaking, and justice is writing a new story in letters everyone can read. Remember how hard it was when you walked through shadows, trying to hold on to hope? When whispers chased you through hallways and side glances weighed more than words. God saw every tear, every moment you kept going when you wanted to turn back, every time you chose faith instead of fear. Now, He's letting the world see what He saw all along. The curtain is lifting, and the audience that once booed is gasping in surprise. Some are apologizing, others are just stunned into silence. All of them are witnessing what happens when God steps in and turns confusion into clarity. Let me tell you, chosen one, you're not just being vindicated, you're being crowned. This is not the end of a hard season, it's the beginning of a new one, written in the ink of truth. You stood your ground. You didn't let bitterness take root. You forgave what should have broken your heart. And because you kept your spirit right, you've given the Lord permission to fight for you in ways that no person ever could. You see, justice has its own way of making an entrance. It doesn't always come on the schedule we want. Sometimes it takes years, sometimes it shows up overnight. But when it arrives, it's unmistakable. People are talking not because of rumors this time, but because of results. Doors are opening that nobody can close. Respect is being restored. Relationships are being mended or removed as needed. The dust is settling, and when it does, you're still standing, strong and steady, a living testimony to the faithfulness of God. Those who once called you naive now call you wise. Those who mocked your patience now admire your strength. The ones who thought your kindness was a weakness now see it as a force they can't comprehend. That's what happens when the scales fall, not just from your eyes, but from theirs. God doesn't just rescue you from the pit, He sets you up on a platform. He takes what was meant for harm and turns it into your greatest help. There's a ripple effect, too, chosen one. The light shining through you is warming hearts that used to be cold, giving hope to others who thought they'd be lost in confusion forever. You've become a beacon, whether you meant to or not, simply by refusing to bow to the chaos around you. Your testimony is the kind that keeps spreading, like a fire catching in dry grass. It burns away what's false, making room for what's honest, pure, and good. And you know what? Justice, when it comes, doesn't just clear your name. It blesses your steps. You'll find that the path ahead is straighter, the burdens lighter, the days brighter. The shame you carried has melted away in the sun, and the questions that haunted you have found their answers. This is the kind of deliverance that doesn't just touch your reputation, it transforms your destiny. Don't just read the stories, experience them. Subscribe and step inside. There's an old saying, the truth will set you free. But I'll add to that, the truth will also lift you up. It will put you in rooms you never thought you'd enter. It will bring you friends who see the real you, not the rumors. It will multiply your influence and bless your family. It will even soften the hearts of those who tried to tear you down, leaving them to wrestle with the reality of a God who doesn't forget His promises. Let yourself rejoice in this moment. Don't be afraid to smile, to breathe deeply, to let the relief wash over you. You made it through the night, and the morning is all yours. There's no need to look back, the chapter has closed. The pen is in the Lord's hand now, and He's writing something new, something lasting, on every page ahead. So keep your head high. Speak your truth with quiet confidence. Bless those who doubted you, not because they deserve it, but because you're free now. Love is your legacy, faith is your shield, and clarity is your crown. The scales have fallen, the light has come, and you are ready for everything God has promised. This is what you were made for. This is your time. It's a lot like walking through your garden at twilight and noticing, just at the edge of your vision, the tiniest weeds poking through the soil. You think nothing of them at first. The flowers look beautiful, the earth seems healthy, and the day's work is done. But beneath the surface, those little green shoots are quietly reaching for space, crowding out what you planted with so much care. That's how it started. Not with an earthquake or a shout, but with a gentle whisper wrapped in good intentions. A trusted friend or colleague, someone who watched your struggle from a distance, offered a bit of support. Yet, tucked inside that encouragement was a question, soft as a sigh. Are you sure you're ready? Maybe you should wait just a bit longer. The words didn't seem harsh, but somehow, they fell into the soil of your heart and unsettled something you couldn't quite name. There's a special kind of quiet in the soul when you sense a storm is coming long before the clouds arrive. Sometimes you feel it as a knot in your stomach, sometimes as a restless night where sleep refuses to visit. The doubt doesn't come roaring in. It tiptoes, polite as a guest who's careful not to track mud on the carpet. You tell yourself it's nothing. You remind yourself of every victory, every hard-fought mile. But the feeling lingers, like the scent of rain before the first drop falls. People who carry the spirit of perseverance often attract both admirers and hidden critics. Some folks celebrate your grit openly, clapping when you rise and offering their praise in public. But others stand on the sidelines, their smiles genuine enough, but their support seasoned with hesitation. They're not bad people, they're just used to the comfort of caution. Their own dreams may have stalled out along the way, and seeing you push forward reminds them of roads they never traveled. Sometimes, encouragement can be a disguise for a gentle warning. Don't fly too close to the sun. Their questions are well-dressed, their concern seems heartfelt, but if you listen with your spirit, you realize they're not just watching your journey, they're testing it. What happens next is the quiet planting of self-doubt. It's never dramatic. It doesn't show up all at once like a sudden downpour. It's a soft, steady drip. A thought here, a raised eyebrow there, a little what if whispered over coffee. What if it's too soon? What if it doesn't work out? What if you need more time? Before you know it, you're carrying someone else's uncertainty in your backpack, weighing down dreams that were meant to soar. This is the moment many people miss. They see the big betrayals coming from a mile away, but not the tiny fractures that start as a hairline crack in the foundation. For a chosen one, the danger is rarely the dramatic fall. It's the slow erosion, the subtle shifting of faith beneath your feet. You start second-guessing not because of what you believe, but because of what you've heard from voices you trusted. Their doubt becomes your background music, and suddenly you're questioning if your vision is too bold, your steps too quick, your goals too high. But let me tell you something, chosen one. Just because a seed is planted in your garden doesn't mean you have to let it grow. God gave you discernment, the kind that notices when something foreign tries to take root in your spirit. The Holy Spirit is your master gardener. He'll show you what needs to be pulled up and what deserves to stay. You may feel those words settle into your heart like pebbles in a pond, but you don't have to let them sink to the bottom. Instead, hold them up to the light. Ask, is this God's truth for me, or someone else's fear? People often underestimate the power of a single doubt. They think if they just whisper it, if they frame it as concern or wisdom, it won't have much effect. But in the heart of a dreamer, every word carries weight. Every question becomes a test. Will you let it shape your destiny, or will you thank them for their care and keep pressing forward? The most dangerous obstacles are rarely the ones that shout, they're the ones that whisper. You see, your journey was never meant to be easy. The path set before you is uphill on purpose, so you can grow muscles you never knew you had. But along that path, God will let you encounter people whose words act like gentle rain, sometimes nourishing, sometimes threatening to drown out your faith. The real test isn't whether you can avoid all doubt, but whether you can recognize it, uproot it, and keep moving anyway. Sometimes, it's not the thunder that warns you of a coming storm, it's the way the air changes, how the leaves turn upside down, how the birds go silent for a moment. In the same way, the spiritual attacks you face often start as a subtle shift in atmosphere. You feel less sure, less energetic, less bold. But this is when you remember who you are. You remind yourself that your dreams are not built on the approval of others, but on the promises God has spoken over your life. Even the most well-intentioned people can't see the vision God gave you. It's not their fault, they're not standing in your shoes, they haven't felt the fire in your bones. When their encouragement turns to caution, when their support is tinged with worry, you have a choice. You can either shrink your calling to fit their comfort, or you can let their doubt become the very wind that pushes you higher. Don't let a pebble of skepticism turn into a mountain of fear. Every chosen one will face moments where trusted voices speak from their own limitations rather than God's abundance. Learn to separate advice that helps from suggestions that hold you back. Not all concern is from heaven. Sometimes it's just a reflection of someone else's unfinished story. You may feel alone at times, but you are not abandoned. Heaven's eyes are always on you. For every person who tries to plant seeds of doubt, there are 100 more angels, ancestors, unseen supporters, cheering you on. Their faith in you is quiet, but it's stronger than any hesitation you'll ever face. Let the encouragement you accept be the kind that waters your hope, not the kind that drowns it. So next time a question lands in your chest, pause before you let it take root. Ask yourself, is this meant to hold me back or help me grow? You're not required to accept every seed that's offered. You get to decide what flourishes in the garden of your spirit. And with God as your guide, every weed of doubt can be pulled out before it ever chokes your dream. Remember, God doesn't call the qualified, He qualifies the called. You don't need unanimous support to succeed. You just need to believe in what He placed inside you. When you walk in that confidence, no amount of hidden skepticism can derail your destiny. Your perseverance is your testimony. Your resilience is your answer. And your story isn't over until God says it's over. Let the pebbles others toss become stepping stones. Let every hint of skepticism fuel your determination. What started as a whisper of doubt can end as a shout of victory when you refuse to let it take root. Keep pressing on, chosen one. The garden you tend with faith will bloom in ways no critic can explain, and your harvest will be sweeter for every doubt you refuse to entertain. It's a lot like inviting someone into your house for shelter during a storm, trusting them with the spare key and the warmth of your kitchen, only to realize later that they've been quietly rearranging your furniture behind your back, opening drawers, making mental notes of where you keep your valuables, and all the while smiling across the dinner table as if nothing is amiss. That's how subtle betrayal works. It doesn't barge in with loud accusations or obvious intent. It slides in gentle, familiar, wearing the face you thought you knew, whispering reassurances while their hands fumble with your private treasures. Some of the greatest challenges to your destiny, chosen one, don't come from strangers or enemies out in the open. No, they come from those who have walked beside you for years, those who know your laugh, your scars, the way your spirit lifts on good days and folds on hard ones. Their support looks real on the outside, polite, appropriate, even loving. But somewhere underneath, a different agenda stirs. The same person who praises your light in public may quietly resent the brilliance of it in private. Sometimes, they begin gathering pieces of your story, not to celebrate your journey, but to map the cracks in your armor. That's the spiritual test not everyone is ready to face. When you post your victories, when you share your struggles, there are eyes watching that don't blink with pride. They narrow with calculation. They see your every word as a puzzle to solve, every photo as a code to crack. It's not encouragement thereafter, it's leverage. Some folks scroll through your digital garden with pruning shears in hand, not to appreciate the blossoms, but to hunt for weeds, to catalog every wilted leaf, to harvest your secrets for later use. And here's the heart of it. The mask they wear is not just for the world, it's for themselves too. They convince themselves that their curiosity is harmless, that their prying is justified, that they're only keeping tabs to help if you slip. But you, chosen one, are being called to recognize the difference between curiosity and concern, between true support and subtle sabotage. Imagine a locksmith who studies every lock not to protect the house, but to know how to enter when no one's watching. That's what happens in the spirit when someone studies your journey, not to uplift you, but to store up ammunition for a rainy day. They download your stories, screenshot your joy, memorize your patterns. Their encouragement is measured, always leaving room for a question mark. I just want the best for you, they say, while privately taking inventory of your faults. But let's get one thing straight. Their analysis is powerless to shape your future unless you hand them the keys. Just because they know your schedule, your favorite verses, your daily routines doesn't mean they hold the blueprint to your purpose. God alone holds the plans for your life, and no amount of scrutiny can alter what heaven has already ordained. You see, spiritual maturity means learning to see through the smile, to hear the message behind the words, to feel when the energy shifts in a conversation. It's like noticing the chill in the air when a front is moving in, even while the sun still shines. The Holy Spirit will nudge you, gently, persistently, whenever a trusted hand becomes too heavy on your shoulder. That's when you know to draw boundaries, to guard your garden, to remember that not every guest at your table is meant to taste the harvest. What do you do when support turns to surveillance? You stay rooted in truth. You refuse to shrink your presence out of fear of scrutiny. You live so authentically that even the deepest dig finds only the gold God placed inside you. Your story doesn't have to be a fortress with every window shuttered and every door locked tight, but it does need discernment. Not everyone who shows up with a smile deserves the keys to your inner rooms. The ones who twist encouragement into investigation are revealing more about their own lack than your limitations. Their hunger to unearth your flaws is just evidence that your light unsettles the darkness in their own hearts. It's not your job to fix that. It's your calling to keep rising, keep shining, keep planting seeds of hope no matter who's watching with envy or suspicion. Remember, chosen one, Jesus himself had a Judas at the table. Even in circles of trust, there will be those who confuse proximity for permission, curiosity for compassion. But what God has prepared for you isn't threatened by the prying eyes or the clever hands of those who mistake closeness for ownership. Don't waste your energy worrying about who's keeping score, who's making lists, who's saving screenshots in secret. Let them watch. Let them wonder. The oil on your life is not for sale, and the anointing on your calling cannot be stolen by someone piecing together your story for their own gain. You are covered, you are chosen, and every weapon formed against you will return to sender, empty and powerless. You'll know you're growing when you stop shrinking back to keep the peace, when you no longer edit your testimony to avoid the jealous gaze of those who say, "I support you," while plotting how to use your words against you. Stay faithful. Stay honest. Stay protected under the shadow of the Almighty. The one who knows the real you sees every masked intent, every secret scheme, and he is your defender. So if someone starts collecting fragments of your story, let them. They may piece together a puzzle, but only God sees the masterpiece. Your life isn't defined by the scrutiny of others. It's shaped by the favor of the one who called you before you ever had a platform, before you ever posted a single photo, before anyone ever started keeping tabs on your rise. That's the truth you can rest in. And when the masks finally slip and the truth comes to light, it's not your job to seek revenge. It's your privilege to step boldly into the next level, knowing you're covered by a protection no mortal hand can remove. They didn't stop there. In the background, a secret gathering dissected your every move. Under the guise of wisdom and enlightenment, they schemed in shadows, presenting their plotting as spiritual work while seeding discord with whispers masked as counsel. You became the catalyst that forced everyone involved to confront their own shadows. Their antagonism revealed their wounds, and your perseverance exposed the gap between illusion and reality. Without realizing it, you became the lesson they most needed. Hungry for timeless wisdom? Hit subscribe and feed your soul. Every challenge sharpened your skills, discerning motives, protecting boundaries, staying true to yourself under pressure. The greatest threats became your greatest teachers, guiding you to higher ground you would not have reached otherwise. Wealth became a current you channeled for healing and uplift, not a prize to hoard or a scorecard for comparison. You turned resources into bridges for others, granting access, safety, and opportunities for those who walked a similar path. Your legacy is not defined by winning battles, but by rising above them. The people who once doubted your integrity found themselves rallying behind you, inspired by your refusal to stoop to retaliation. Every quiet victory became a testament to what real power looks like. What began as an assault became a curriculum. Your methods of energetic protection, discernment, and service are now a guidebook for others who face similar darkness. Your story is living proof that trials can be transformed into sacred instruction. The old paradigm of rivalry faded as you modeled a new way, one where cooperation, generosity, and mutual uplift replaced the games of division. Your actions demonstrated the abundance available to all who move with sincerity and vision. Transformation became your truest victory, not the defeat of adversaries. Every hardship became a stepping stone, every wound a wellspring of wisdom. You became a beacon, shining through storm and struggle, lighting the way for those still finding their own path. Now, the very audience that once questioned you sees your resilience and clarity. Their skepticism dissolves into admiration, and you emerge as a leader not by force, but by the example of your steady, unwavering spirit. At the close of this chapter, a quiet inner certainty pulses within. It is the knowledge that your journey is not about keeping pace with others, but about walking the course only you were meant to travel. Your future unfolds not as a prize for endurance, but as a mission that will carry light into new worlds and new seasons.